we are hiring a team of people to come and prep the exterior of the boat in order to prime it, hopefully by the end of the fall. They're coming in about 2 weeks, shortly after the boat show here in Port Townsend. I have a long list of stuff still to do and a lot of things I'd like to get done this week. I don't even have time to tell you about what we're going to do. We're just going to dive right into it. My name is Matt. Follow along as I turn Duracell, the legendary ocean racing sailboat, into a comfortable cruising home.
So it's been a while, Matt, since I've asked you what you're thinking about the name for this boat when it's all done. And I know a lot of our viewers are wondering as well. And just to remind you guys, we're considering 3 names. The first is Spirit of the Woods, which is nice because it honors the name Northwest Spirit.
And Spirit of Minnesota.
And Spirit of Minnesota, which was actually the boat's original name.
Yep.
And here it is being reborn in the woods in Washington. The second name we're considering is Dugnad, which is a Norwegian word and means kind of like a community project where everybody pitches in, which of course very much captures the spirit of this project. And the third name we're considering is Duracell, just keeping that name. So, I don't know, I haven't asked you for a while. What are you thinking?
I haven't had time to think about it, frankly. It's, I still like all 3 of those names, and I'm totally open to other names. What about you? This is a team decision.
I also really like all 3 names and haven't decided yet. So I guess TBD.
I also removed the rest of the corporate decals that were on the hull. I obviously won't be putting them back on except for the 5 on the bow. It was from Mike Plant's racing days when KSTP Channel 5 in Minneapolis, Minnesota used to sponsor his racing. I think it's an iconic logo that would go well with Duracell's new look. Here's a project that I've been avoiding, which is cutting the holes for the hatches that are going to go on either side of the center window in the windscreen area. These are going to be hatches, so they'll open. Lets lots of airflow through the doghouse, especially right here, which is above the stove. The reason I've been avoiding it is because this shape of this panel of the windscreen is a really funny shape, weird trapezoid shape, and I'm putting a square hatch into it. I'm not going to like order some fancy custom shaped hatches. So we decided that we're going to place them just like this, which centers them as best as possible up near the top here. The bottom is aligned up with the center opening. I think this looks the best. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out finally. Just get it done. Now that we've got these holes cut out, I need to finish the edge of the foam. So what I'm gonna do is, on the inside one, what I did is wrapped it in fiberglass. So it's like, this is the edge of the foam and I wrapped it like this. This time I dug out the foam and I'm filling the edge with epoxy and carbon. And that is so that the opening cannot be stressed in this direction. It's giving it more strength that way. You know, there's not gonna be a lot of weight on these, on the top, on the roof of this doghouse. It's gonna be solar panels, and that's pretty much it. And people walking around up there in case we need to like work on the boom or whatever. But, you know, taking this window out makes it not as strong as it was before, and so I'm gonna add some strength this way. All I'm doing is just gooping it up with thickened epoxy and then wrapping it with carbon and epoxy and then finishing with more thickened epoxy. This is my second layer. I'm doing 4 total. So I'm just putting thickened epoxy on top of the carbon just to fill in the low spots that are around the perimeter here. All right, this looks like kind of a mess, and it is kind of a mess. It's done. All I'm like, it'll be really easy to clean up tomorrow with the sander just going around the perimeter. I think it turned out pretty good. A nice, easy way to finish this little hatch.
So easy. I could do it in my sleep.
Mm-hmm. So easy.
For you, maybe.
The deck is full of projects that I've been avoiding that now have to get done before the paint prep team arrives. This was a block on deck that had a bunch of rope clutches bolted to it. The lines came down off the mast and were led to the clutches, and then a winch that was on the deck just aft of the mast. We won't be using a winch on deck here, so I'm having my mom cut it off. We also decided to remove these deck deadlights that are in the forward stateroom. We will have 3 windows already in that berth, and I don't want to have to worry about these leaking as well. Getting a job done efficiently is all about having the right tool. These 12-volt Milwaukee sanders and grinders are small enough to fit in the tight spots and powerful enough to cut through the paint quickly. After the openings were well prepped, my mom cut out a smaller 3/4 inch thick piece of foam that filled the smaller opening, and then glued in a 1/2 inch thick piece on top that filled the window recess. Later, we'll come back and laminate over the deck side and the inside of this repair. So Mom took out the windows that were in these windows are in the forward stateroom. They were like dead lights that had actual lights in them that showed up onto the sails. We took them out because we don't want the extra windows in our bedroom. They probably leaked and everything anyway. So Mom took them out, prepped them, and then filled them with fiberglass for us today. Unfortunately, the GoPro froze, so we won't get to see her magical work. Darn it. Yeah. But we got a new one coming, so anyway, well done. After the new core was glued in, I sanded around the perimeter to get it flat to the boat and laminated a couple layers on top.
We've got a baby monitor, which allows us to do boat work and filming until he cries.
I'm gonna cut these windows out. Last year we built these windows into the hull sides, and I only got time to cut out 5 of the windows. We built 8 in total. And so I have 3 more on the port side to cut out and finish the perimeter of. So I'm gonna do that today. And baby just started crying, so Yanni's gotta run. I made a template that fits into the window frame that I use as a guide to cut the opening. The width of the template is the amount of bonding surface that the window will have when glued onto the hull. I did a rough cut of the window first with my Sawzall. I tried to cut as close as I can to the template, but I'm very careful to not cut into the template. It's very satisfying to knock out the window and see inside the boat from the outside. And now I can see all the way through the boat. I put a piece of plastic up over the window for the next step, which is routing. To make the cutout perfect, I use a bottom bearing cutout router bit and use the template to trace the shape of the window. The plastic keeps dust from getting outside. These windows are called deadlights, which means that they are permanently installed windows that do not open. They are recessed into the hull to prevent waves from working their way under the window and making a leak. They will be glued in with no fasteners. They will be tinted to keep the interior from getting too hot. And I'm sorry I have not decided on what kind of material I'm going to use yet. If I had to guess, I will likely be using acrylic, which is the cheapest and most readily available anywhere in the world, in case I need to replace one on the fly. But I'm also considering glass. This is one of those decisions that doesn't have to happen until after the boat is painted, so it will be a little while yet. next project on the deck is actually at the deck and the hull. It's at what's called the shear clamp, which is where the deck joins to the hull. On Duracell, the shear clamp is glassed together, and in the incident that put Duracell on the hard many years ago, where it ran into a container ship, something happened along this rail that cracked the glass. So I've sanded through everything. It doesn't appear to be any damage underneath the glass. It was just cracks in the glass. But it's interesting that I was able to sand through and I can actually see the top of the hull and the deck where the two come together, where the deck was actually glued onto the top of the hull before they glassed it. So what I'm going to do today, this afternoon, is just glass over this repair with a couple layers of 17-ounce Biax, vacuum bag it, and we'll call it good.
I think most of our viewers at this point know that Duracell got in a head-on collision with a cargo ship in the early 90s as it was circumnavigating the planet for the third time. The boat was dismasted, it got this shear damage, but I'm kind of putting myself in the shoes of our viewers, and I'm guessing they might be wondering how you know, Matt, that there's not more like deep structural damage to this boat from that collision with a cargo ship.
Well, when we got the boat, we had it surveyed. We actually had 2 surveyors come out and look it over. And they found everything that we've seen so far. So that was kind of we knew that the boat had been through the ringer. And so we knew that there would be some damage, structural damage like this. And then the past 3 years have been all through the boat. And I haven't found anything else that is catastrophic or anything like that. We fixed a few things, but otherwise, boat seems to be in really good shape.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but that day we got the boat surveyed back in 2021, the surveyors had been through and for a couple hours, and I pulled one of them aside, and it was basically like, tell me the truth. Is this project worth it? Is my husband crazy? And he said, this project is absolutely worth it if you have a lot of money. And I remember when he said that last part, he kind of glanced over at our car, which at the time was an absolute beater of a car. I mean, just on its last legs. And then it was a few days after that survey that you came up with the idea of starting a YouTube channel to fund it.
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Thanks for watching. I would like to encourage you to check out sailedogbark.com, which is a blog about a boat that is very similar to Duracell. It's an Open 60. Some friends of mine are sailing through the Northwest Passage right now. Sandy is keeping an excellent blog with photos and videos, and it's really fun to follow along, so I encourage you to check out that sailedogbark.com. And we also have one new Patreon to thank this week. Thank you to Gordon, who is from Australia. He is getting into sailing right now, taking classes. He hopes to get himself a big catamaran to go cruising around Australia and New Zealand. And who knows where else they're going to go. So thank you very much to Gordon, and we'll see you next week.